Good morning. Our hand today is going to be Pocket Kings. This is a somewhat interesting hand. We have a preflop raiser in early position. He's playing 15-2 over 468 hands. This guy has played about 9% early position, 8%, 9% hands. I think he's got a range something like this. Maybe not that 10-9, but definitely your suited broadways, pocket pairs. He's got a pretty decent hand. And then you're going to see that there's a 3-bet before it even gets to me. And this 3-bet's by a guy that's playing 13-13 with 7% 3-bet range over 31 hands. Now, it's a little deceiving, that 7%, because it's only 1 out of 14. So he could have had a hand that time. It's uninformative as to helping us determine his range. Same thing, 13-13. It's 4 out of 31. He's basically played 4 hands, made a preflop raise on all 4 of those. 2 of them, it was a raise first in, and then I'm sure there was probably like a raise of the limpers, and a 3-bet. So raise of the limpers, and then raise with previous limpers, and then a 3-bet. So a player like this, I think, is going to be 3-betting something fairly tight. That's 4%. It could be off. Maybe his range is wider, but I think that's kind of like his range here. And then it gets to me, and I'm looking at 2 tight players, 2 players that are going to have decent ranges. I've got kings. I think the most, if I raise here, 4-bet, I think the only hand that it's going to really call is probably aces. I think jacks and queens could find a fold. This is a 10 NL hand, so it's probably less like we'll get a fold than if we were playing at like a 25 NL game. But I'm kind of thinking we should try to keep like all of these offsuit hands or unpaired hands in. Ace king, ace queen. Now with a king, we've drastically reduced combinations in our opponent's hands, so we really reduced the ace kings that are out there, which makes it lean more towards like ace queen or like pocket pairs, aces, queens, jacks. I think this is definitely a hand where we could 4-bet. We should be 4-betting. I chose just to call here. I think the call is also okay. I've 20 hands hit in. I've got a big stack, and it's another big stack. So the early position player has 196 big blinds. We've got, we're starting with about the same amount. So, there's what I don't want to do is 4-bet and then have one of the people raise, make it 5-bet, and go in with like a 200 big blind stack with kings, when most likely hand villain's going to have is going to be aces, something like that. I'm sure that's kind of been what my thinking was. So I called, and then small blind called. So he's playing 35-15, 0 over 20 hands. This guy looks like he's going to be loose, and I'm going to give him speculative hand here. Pocket pairs, he's calling, hoping to hit trips. I'm going to give him like suited aces, again, calling to hit the ace or the flush draw, and maybe these broadways that I think some players really tend to like playing, the king, queen, queen, jack suited, ace, queen, king, queen, ace, jack. That's 11% of hands. Then he gets around back to the early position, and now he 4-bets here to 28.5. So about 4x the pot. Now at this point, I think we are going to be eliminating hands here. So at this point, I think his 4-bet's probably something like this, maybe jacks plus ace king. And we know that if this is his combos, he's got 40 combos here. If we take out our kings, it drops it down to 27 combos. So really takes out, what kind of hands. Makes it much more likely that he's going to have aces, queens, or jacks. So villain 1 folds. So I'm going to guess he might have had ace queen, or he could have had an even weaker hand than that. It's on us. We're obviously not going to fold. I'm not going to raise because, again, I don't really want to. So I should say this was my 3-betting range versus a, I guess it's not a, it should be a versus a cutoff color. Oops. 3-betting range. That's a 3-better call range. Yeah. So we're going to have to, I think even aces. Let's get that. Our 3-bet and call range. Is that right? All right, 3-better call range. And we said we're big. And it's already been 3-bet. So we're tightening up here. I think we have just a very, very narrow range. I don't think ace-6 to ace-10. I don't think I'm playing those. So I think we're at like a narrow range like that. And yeah, I think we're going to add, if I was going to do this with kings, I think we've got something like that. And then we face the 4-bet here. And I don't think we're doing all of those. I think sometimes we're 4-betting, sometimes we're just calling. I think ace queen, ace jack, ace queen, probably calling just in my spot. So then once he 4-bet, now I think we are really just looking something like this. And I don't even like calling with the ace queen. I did this twice last night, and I just thought, why? Because if I catch a queen, I could still be behind kings and aces. I'm really hoping then he has ace king while I have ace queen. So I just kind of feel like now this is going to be my range when I call. And I've got about 50%, so it's not even 100% of my range because I would have raised these at some point too. And then this other villain folds. So we've got pretty tight, basically the same ranges is what we're looking at. So we see a flop, ace 8-3 rainbow. And I think at this point we're either way ahead or way behind. If he has an ace, we're way behind. If no one has an ace, we're going to probably be way ahead. So villain 4 checks after 4-betting. I'm going to say he's got his entire range here. I think it makes sense for him to do the pocket pair less than the top card. I think it kind of makes sense to maybe slow play. I think we're gonna, let's do weighting and say it's maybe about 50% that he slow plays the ace king. And then, yeah, same thing with the set. I think set's probably just gonna be checking here. And then it gets back to me and it's like, okay, well, if he checked, what should I bet? I don't think there's any reason to bet here. If we have a set, we obviously crush the board. I think if I bet any of the aces, he's just going to fold everything that we beat. And pocket pair less than the top card, if we beat, and again, if we bet, he's only going to call with the ace, I think. I don't think he's going to call any of these underpairs just because of how the pre-flop hand went. So I think the check's fine. Turn of clubs, even though it's Broadway, I don't think it really hits, because I don't think we've got like ace 10, king 10, queen 10, jack 10 hands in the range, or even pocket 10s. So villain now checks, and I think here that I think the ace king's probably going to be betting now, and I think sets are going to probably be betting. And that leaves pocket pair less than the top card here. So kings, queens, and jacks, and we are ahead at that point. And the reason I say I think kings or an ace-x hand top pair plus is going to bet here is because the board now is starting to get a little bit scarier. It's got the king, queen, which I might have, or the queen, jack. It also has the clubs. And note that the ace of clubs is not on the board, so it's entirely possible that we have an ace of clubs out there. Ace, king, ace, queen of clubs. So now if villain has top pair, he doesn't want to check and let me catch a flush. So I kind of think he's going to be betting ace king. He's going to be betting pocket aces here. So he checks. Now at this point, I think we should be betting. And I think we should probably be betting our entire range here. Kind of for the same reasons. If he has should we? I think if we bet here, he's calling with the ace if he has him. I don't really think he's going to be calling these. I think if anything, we can get one bet out of him. And what I don't want to do is bet he calls with, let's say, jack or queens, and a club falls, and then he shoves. And would he do that? His c-bet's 85 and 50. I mean, it looks like he's positionally aware. His out of position c-bet is looking pretty good. His let's see here, check raise 22%, 2 out of 9. Kind of looks like he might be capable of it. It looks like he's a decent player, at least stats wise. He's losing. He's lost. Question is why. Maybe goes too far with hands. Maybe calls down too lightly. We can be. I think we have a one street of value type hand. So we bet the turn, and then I think we check the river, or we check now and hope that we can get jacks or queens to call on the river with the bet. It's possible that jacks and queens would call now, but probably more likely on the river if we check behind, and now he's going to think, well, we're just bluffing at it, so he'll call with his underpair. So I kind of feel the same way maybe with the set. If we're going to be, we could turn jacks into a bluff now, maybe. Well, no, I think jacks are probably just going to be a call. Queen, I think jacks and queens are going to be check behinds. Kings are going to be value. Ace-X will be value. Sets will be value. We don't really have bluffs because the way our hand is. I think the check's okay. So like if had we bet and we get called, that's a pretty safe card for us. So I kind of feel like if he's going to shove, we could call. But at a 10 NL game, when a player makes that move, he's got a hand. He's got trips at that point probably. And he just slow played the trips. So villain checks, spot 73. I think he's definitely just has these hands, jacks, queens, kings. I think we can look at it and say, does any of them call? And I don't, all it takes is having some chance that he's going to call jacks or queens. And I think that's going to make our bet valid. So I think here we're betting kings plus. We should, at least. We should probably go 25 big blinds, I think, is what we should go. Try to get called. I'm pretty confident he doesn't have an ace or better. So I think we go like a third pot, right around a third pot, maybe down to 20, maybe almost. It's not quite a quarter pot, but a little bit smaller to encourage a call. It'll make it hard for him to fold. So we just checked it, and he had queens, and he had one of those hands, and that's, I kind of just think once he checks the turn, I think that's just kind of our clue that he probably doesn't have the ace at that point, because the board started to turn scary. People now are starting to look for protection. They don't want to give the free card for fear that club's going to come, and then they just gave the opponent a shot at beating them. This would have been a pretty scary hand, head with 4-bet, and then he comes over the top at 5-bet. I don't think we have any notes on that. I mean, we've got 3-bet and 4-bet range, and it's got, queen queens plus. But yeah, I do want to take some notes here. So he RFI, I can't remember. Was that 2.5? Yeah, it was RFI 2.5 big blinds from under the gun, and then we had a 4-bet and 4-bet 7.5 big bet raise to 28.5 big blind with queens. Queen of diamonds, queen of hearts. And then he's out of position, heads up. And he checked on ace of diamonds, 8 of clubs, 3 of spades, 10 of clubs, 5 of spades. I think I missed a little value. I'm not sure if he would have called on the turn. I think he's either calling one time on the turn and then folding to a river bet, or he's calling one time on the river. I think that's all that we're getting. So I missed some value. We kind of knew that, and I was thinking that if I bet, I'm not going to get called by worse, but I think we could. I think we could have been called by queens and jacks if we made our bet a little bit smaller, and just having like a 5% chance of them calling, I think is enough to make our bet plus EV, because I don't think he has I think there's almost a 0 chance that he has an ace or better, top pair or better. All right, hopefully you enjoy this hand. If you do, look tomorrow for another one.